Every super beginner guide for clan boss in Raid Shadow Legends is going to tell you to apply decrease attack to the clan boss to make sure that you have a poisoner on your team, right? So you can do some pretty solid damage and maintain buffs like increase defense and that sort of stuff. What this is a video to help new players break into Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare clan boss, where the rewards get seriously absolutely ridiculous on the daily. We're going to cover 10 champs that are, for the most part, pretty accessible. There's going to be some in there that are obviously void epics and that kind of thing. But 10 mostly accessible champs. We're going to talk about what kind of team archetype they're going to fit into. And the idea is to give newer players an idea of what they need to be looking out for, right? Champs that are really, really good for when you're looking to push into Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare clan boss. So even if you're not going to build these champs immediately, you're at least going to know what guys to hold on to. Best of all, and in no particular order on this list, we have the epic force champ Skullcrusher. Not the most rare in the game. It's not like a void epic or anything like that. And so it's not inconceivable, hello cat, that you're eventually going to be able to pull your way into a Skullcrusher. Why is he so good? Well, it's all because of his A2, right? He places an ally protect buff on all allies except this champ for 2 turns, which is great, just general survivability for the whole team. But most importantly, fully booked on a 3-turn cooldown, this skill places a counterattack buff on all allies except Skullcrusher for 2 turns. This is massive. Counterattack is a fantastic way to massively spike your team's damage output against clan boss, which can be crucial if your team is running something like a block damage style team, right? Or an unkillable style team, which we'll get to in just a bit. But basically, even with an unkillable style team, you only have a limited amount of time to get the clan boss dead, right? And so maximizing your damage with every single key. Counterattack is a fantastic way to get that done. And so Skullcrusher has got to make this list just because of how accessible he is for an epic champ. And yeah, he's just a damn good one to hang on to. Next up, we've got Vergus, and Vergus is mostly just grand alongside a champ that's giving him counterattack, right? Why is that? It's all because of his A1 and how it functions, okay? So it's an attack 1 enemy, and fully booked up, you have a 50% chance of applying a reflect damage buff on a random ally for 2 turns. So if you're maximizing the amount of times you're attacking with Vergus, right? Say he has enough speed to attack in twice before the clan boss hits, then he swings in with a counterattack as well. Suddenly you can have 2 or 3 reflect damage buffs up across your entire team, and yeah, you get to maximize your damage that way. So Vergus is a great one to hold on to if you're going for a counter-attacking style squad. And he also brings increased speed and reflect damage as well on a target ally on his A2 also. And as a quick aside, if you haven't already, make sure to go ahead and input the promo code GameLoop to get your hands on 10 free experience brews, a free energy refill, and 100,000 silver. Why the hell would you not? And you know what, if you've already used this code and it's saying, oh, invalid code, right, because you've already spent it, then share it with your clanmates as well and help your bros out, man. That's Code GameLeap, boys. Helps to support the channel too. Thanks for that, man. Next up, we've got our first debuff blocker to ensure that the clan boss is never landing its stun. Most accessible of these and a very, very good champ indeed against clan boss is going to be Sepulchre Sentinel, Force Affinity Epic Defense champ from the Knights Revenant faction, and it's all about her A2, though she does also bring pretty solid tools in the rest of her kit as well, including a decreased attack on the A1, which is of course always fantastic in a clan boss. Very, very important debuff. And on the passive, she even has a 25% chance to completely block incoming damage when an ally is attacked, which is sweet. It's of course on a 1-turn cooldown, but there you go. The A2 though brings increased defense and a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. What does this mean, right? Sepulchre Sentinel is one of those champs where you want her to get her skill off before the clan boss swings in with the stun. What does that mean? It means she's one of these champs that you need to speed tune so that she is sitting at between 205 and 210 speed. And that is after speed auras and that kind of thing. And this will ensure that she is attacking in a 4 to 3 turn pattern, right? So for every 4 I guess moves that she gets in, the clan boss gets 3 attacks, right? And this will always ensure that she gets up the increased defense and block debuffs on her A2 every time the clan boss attacks in for the 3rd time, which will always be the stun, right? That's what a 4 to 3 ratio is. If you ever hear people talk about that against clan boss, that's what they mean, right? A 4 to 3 ratio champ is a champ that needs to be at a correct speed so that they move 4 times for every 3 times the clan boss moves. Now is a good time to point out as well that Nightmare clan boss has a speed of 170, while Ultra Nightmare has a speed of 190. And so any speeds I mention, I guess, during these champion specific segments might need tweaking, boosting or reducing just a little bit in order to get your team flowing perfectly, but there you go. Next up, we've got to cover High Katoon. She's, of course, a free champ that you get after 30 days of raid. And the reason that she's so good, honestly, is because of 10-meter boost and her speed buffs, right? And she also brings, of course, a speed aura that is active in all battles, which is kind of crucial, right? You're going to need a speed aura that's, well, you don't always need a speed aura that's active in Clan Boss, but it can be damn nice to have so you can hit your speed tuning numbers. She's also a champ that basically everybody is likely to build, and so, yeah, I think that she does bear mentioning in this video that she tends to find a lot of use in beginner Clan Boss teams. And alright, man, onto the serious champs now. Of course, we have to talk about Demitha. Demitha is a Void Epic champ for the Dwarves faction, and so she's a little tougher to get your hands on, but she's going to be... Dude, if you pull an early Demitha on your account, she's one of the core pillars of the unkillable Clan Boss style team, or rather block damage Clan Boss style team, right? So on an A3, she places a block damage buff on all allies for 1 turn and a continuous heal. We don't really care so much about the heal though, and this is bookable down to a 3-turn cooldown. So Demitha is almost always, but not always necessarily, but generally speaking, she's going to be paired alongside a second champ that brings a block damage style buff or an unkillable style buff, so that you can then rotate between Demitha's A3 and that other champ's skill. And once you get the speeds right, you can constantly have these block damage and unkillable buffs active no matter what. Now, it does bear mentioning that once the Clan Boss hits turn 50, okay, turn 50 is like the cap. The Clan Boss will begin to ignore block damage and unkillable style buffs after turn 50 and will just one-shot your team through that anyway. So realistically, even with an unkillable or block damage team where you have these buffs active all the time, you have a 50-turn limit to do as much damage as humanly possible to the Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare Clan Bosses, which again is why we covered some counterattackers a bit earlier on in this video. They can be very, very good budget options for getting that done. Following on from Demitha, we of course have good old Maneater, who is basically doing a very, very similar job, except he has the unkillable buff, right? Again, he's an epic Void champ, this time for the Ogryn tribes, and on his A3, this champion receives damage, a small amount of damage, then places an unkillable buff and a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns. Okay, this is on a 5-turn cooldown. And generally speaking, you're going to see a Maneater paired up with the Demitha, or you can use 2 Demithas, or you can use 2 Maneaters, okay? Generally, just very, very good budget options for getting your unkillable and block damage style teams up and running, okay? Maneater, Demitha, absolutely premium. Next up, another debuff cleanser. We've already covered good old Sepulchre Sentinel. Well, the Knights Revenant faction also have Doom Priest, which is another fantastic debuff cleanser, right? She brings an increased attack on the A2, which is also grand, but passive is where the magic happens. Heals all allies by 75% of their max HP and removes 1 random debuff from them at the start of this champion's turn. What does this mean? Curiously, if you're running your Doom Priest as part of your Clan Boss team, and that's her job on your account, what you actually want to do is not build her to be as fast as possible, which is most people's impulse. It's how I'll be using her, because I'll be using her mostly in Doom Tower content and stuff like that. But if you're using her in your Clan Boss team, you actually want her to be just a smidgen slower than the Clan Boss. Okay, so the Clan Boss again at Nightmare is running at 170 speed, and at Ultra Nightmare it's 190 speed. You want it to be just slower than the Clan Boss, so whenever the Clan Boss comes in with its stun, Doom Priest immediately goes next, her passive triggers, and whoever the Clan Boss stunned is immediately dispelled. And again, when I say that Doom Priest has to be slower than the Clan Boss, we're talking about her true speed, right? We're talking about her speed after speed auras, okay, and after things like speed buffs that might be on your Clan Boss team, right? You've got to take all of those things into account to get it just so. Next up, heading into the rare champs, we have the Void rare known as good old Painkeeper, who on a A3 has a very, very crucial skill indeed for a lot of these unkillable teams, which is decrease the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn. Very, very good indeed. Bookable down to a 4-turn cooldown, and it will need to be bugged, right? Because obviously you're trying to reduce the cooldowns of things like Maneater's unkillable skill and Demitha's block damage skill. Should also point out as well that, of course, you can combine Maneater and Demitha in any of these unkillable or block damage style champs with any legendary unkillable or block damage style champs as well. It can just be any combination of the two. And again, you can make a team work with just one Demitha. We're going to cover a team that does just that, actually, before this video is over. But yeah, it's very, very gear intensive indeed, and so I'm leaving that one sort of towards the end. But that was Painkeeper. Next up, we've got to touch on Wixwell. just because quite a few people got their hands on him because of the Fusion event, right? And so I think it bears mentioning the Wixwell team as well. If you don't know what it is, you basically combine Wixwell with 2 rare champions. If you want to go super budget, right? It can be Valerie and Hellborn Sprite, 2 very easy to get rare champs. And you basically set up Wixwell to go ahead and apply his shields. He also brings increased defense as well, which is just great. And then to spam the hell out of his A2 as much as humanly possible. Because, yeah, not only does it do damage and decrease enemy attack, but it also increases the value of all shields on all allies, and the value of each shield is increased proportional to the total number of buffs which had their duration increased, okay? The shields spiral out of control if you build this team composition correctly, and Wixwell can be part of an infinity shield, 1500 turn, literally unkillable clan boss team. And because it just requires Wixwell and some very budget champs to kind of make up the rest of the team, like we're talking like rare champs that are really no problem at all for anybody to get their hands on, I think that it does deserve a mention on this list. Finally, when it comes to other 10-meter controllers, I do also just want to mention that Seeker is a great option to blast the hell out of your team's 10 meter and just maximize the amount of 10s that you're getting, and that can be very important in some teams as well. So definitely be holding on to any Seekers that you pull. And it's a similar story as well with good old Deacon Armstrong, who actually brings Leech on his A1. He brings a decreased defense on his A2, and most importantly on his A3 he gets his 10 meter fill on the A3. And actually combining Deacon Armstrong alongside another 10 meter fill champ, something like a Haikatoon, right, for just a rapid amount of turns coming out from your champs, you can use that to build a unkillable champ team with a Demitha. Again, very gear expensive, however. Another champ that I'm going to call out, I guess, is just more of like a little bit of an honorable mention. That is, of course, going to be Ares. If you're looking to specialize just one DPS champ on a budget to be your clan boss primary damage dealer, Ares is a great option. You can put her in a toxic gear set so she has a chance to apply weak version of poison, and on her passive she counterattacks the attacker when an ally is attacked, so she's counterattacking like crazy. I mean, that's about it really. With full masteries, she gets the War Master mastery as well, and so she has a chance to deal a big extra like blob of damage every time she swings in, and so Ares is just a really nice super budget damage dealer. But to be honest, the damage dealers are kind of the easiest ones to get your hands on, but I thought that she's worth covering anyway just because she is so budget and so accessible. And alright man, now to talk some exact team composition. This one of course is the counterattack style team, and all of these kind of like builds and speed tuning guides and all of this kind of stuff are all linked down below, just so you all know, in the video description, so if you want to check these out. If you're trying to build a team that is using, for example, Skull Crusher, right? I really like this guide because if you've got a Skull Crusher and you've got another counterattack style champ, it's really quite easy to make. You just got to make sure that the boss is stunning one specific guy who is prepared for the stun. Everybody else can just be DPSs, and you're just trying to maul the boss as quickly as possible. And it even contains some specific instructions a little bit further on down if you are running a Skull Crusher, as you can see right here. It's also a very bright website, good old Deadwood Jedi, so I went ahead and just dark moded this site a little bit so it doesn't blind you guys, so you know. Next up we have a counterattack style team that could maybe use Skull Crusher alongside something like a Vergus, and then a 4-3 style champion, which you could slot into here, the likes of Sepulchre Sentinel, so that she comes in with her debuff block and just blocks the stun every time. This is just a cool little well-rounded team that you can make. Most of these teams, by the way, especially teams like this, are going to be 2 or 3 keying Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare. But again, the idea behind these teams is that they are more accessible than the super endgame clan boss stuff where you're just one keying Ultra Nightmare, no problem. And of course, massive shout out to a Deadwood Jedi, by the way, for this insane website. This guy is an absolute giga chad and the authority on clan boss efficiency and efficient clears, and the guy's just a mega mind, okay, when it comes to clan boss clear action. Here we've got the double Demitha team. As you can see, we're running at very high speeds and kind of variable speeds, cleanser, block debuff, that kind of thing. I don't really want to go too in depth on how all of these teams actually come together and work, but again, down below in the description, you're going to see a whole bunch of links linking to, I don't know, it's like 7 or 8 teams that use quite budget champs, the champs that we have covered in this video for the most part. So hell, if you own any of the champions that we covered in this video, my advice would be pick one or two of the teams that use that champ from down below in the description box and do your best to just fill up the rest of the slots and start prepping that champ with the appropriate speed tunings and those kind of things. And frankly, Deadwood Jedi and all of those links down below are going to explain how to set up each individual clan boss team far better than I ever could. So that's going to be all for this one, guys. Hope you all did enjoy. I hope that it helps some of you guys kind of piece together maybe a plan that you can start to throw together to get your Nightmare and hopefully Ultra Nightmare clan boss teams up and running as soon as possible. I want to thank you all for watching, and any veteran players that are watching this video that feel like I missed any super budget clan boss champs that newer players should maybe look to hold on to, drop them down below in the comments as well, man, and help the newer folks out. As always, if you're looking to kickstart a new Raid Shadow Legends account, then start that new Raid account using my promo link down below at the top of the video description to start off your fresh new account with a free epic champion in the form of the good old attack champ, Boss Killer Juliana. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm going to catch all of y'all just a tad bit later, man.